How's it going, friends and family? And the family of First Form, a big hello from me to you as well. Uh, for all my friends that don't know, and even some family members that don't know, I applied for a sponsorship or an elite team athlete sponsorship with this company called First Form, and they are a very fantastic company to work for. And I will know in June if I get it or not. There's a lot of people, applying, but fingers crossed. And this video is to kind of help First Form kind of get to know me in person, because there's no way to actually meet them in person at the moment, especially with everything going on. And might even shed some light on stuff with family members that I haven't talked to and anything like that in a while. So hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Like I said, it's gonna be more orientated towards telling First Form, about myself and why I believe I should be part of their family. But overall, it should be a good video, and I think everybody will enjoy it as long as you guys stay through. I'm not sure how long the video is going to be, so for those of you that get through the whole video, thank you very much. But yeah, before I kind of go into why I believe I should be the next team athlete, I think it's kind of important to talk about like where I kind of started, how I grew up, and where I'm at presently, and like everything that's kind of going on right now, and like that's how that's affecting, my life mentally, physically, and future goals that I have alone, and that I also have with the First Form fam if I do get that position. But like I said, so we're gonna start kind of back from the beginning, just to kind of get you guys to know where I'm at and who I'm at, and like why I am the person I am today. So going back, I have I could say that like overall I had an amazing childhood, like great childhood. And most people would hear and kind of see the things that me and my family have been through and be like, how can you say it's like a great or amazing childhood? And like it's because of like the moments that we made together and that we had together. Those good moments always threw light over the crappy ones, I guess. And it kind of all started with my mom. She escaped two abusive, both physically and verbally, relationships with me and my brother and our father and our sister's father, and she was able to get away from those, and on her own raised two boys who, not gonna lie, didn't make it very easy to raise. We were always getting into trouble, always doing dumb things, typical boy stuff. But yeah, and she was able to raise us. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. We grew up in a very ghetto part of town where I'm from, and there was a lot of drugs and a lot of gang violence in that area. And here we are today, able to get through it. And me personally, and I've been through a lot of stuff. There's a lot of hurt there in my life, but I've never really been somebody to like dwell on that, and I've always been somebody to like look past everything, move on, get to where I need to be there for my siblings, to be there for my mom. And it was, like I said, it was an overall like great childhood. Like as bad as everything seemed and as bad as the surroundings seemed, it never seemed to really like affect me and my siblings, which is awesome. I remember I made a lot of very good friends in my childhood, and a lot of people that I made very great memories with. And it's sad to say that, a majority of those people that I knew, they're all, at least not all of them, but a good chunk of them are either involved in some kind of gang relation, involved in drugs, and or in jail or prison. And I always get like asked questions of like, why do I think that I never got involved in that, even though like it was I was in kind of thrown in there with everybody. And um, I always kind of have the same answer every time. One is, I didn't want to let my mom down. My mom always kind of made it a very clear point that like you're not a product of your surroundings if you don't choose to be. Like I always kind of hear people's excuses that like, oh, I'm this way because I grew up this way, and that's not like, to me, it's not necessarily an excuse. Like, yeah, it might have an effect on you, but you overall have a choice of how you want to interact with the world and interact with people. And at the end of the day, you are you. So, yeah, like, people ask me, like, why do you think, you never got involved in gangs or you never got involved in drugs? And I just tell them I didn't want to let my mom down. You know, my mom was a single mom for most of my life, and she worked, her butt off all the time, 12-hour shifts, 16-hour shifts. And, she would come home and be so tired, and she would have to, you could tell that she just wanted to go to sleep, but, would make me and my brother food. And me and my brother were like constantly butting heads when we were younger. And, kind of, it just made things really difficult for my mom. And most of the time, my mom always had a smile on her face. She was always making jokes. Anytime stuff would happen, she would try to make light of the situation. So she was one of the biggest reasons that, I am the person I am today. And then on top of that, my siblings, I was the oldest. And I always had this very strong mentality that, like, they'd look up to me, It's always, like, the oldest that, like, everybody kind of looks up to. Even my mom, when she wasn't home working, I would be the one that would kind of take care of everybody. So, yeah, it was, I just didn't want to let my siblings down. I saw friends that had younger siblings that, were involved in gang-related issues, and I could see that their younger siblings were following right in their footsteps. And yeah, they were friends of mine, but I didn't want my siblings to go down that same path. So I made like a very large attempt to kind of try to stay out of those situations as much as possible. And, I think overall for the better it worked. Everybody now is in a better situation, to say the least. Everybody's in a better situation. Like I said, I made a lot of great friends. I learned a lot of lessons growing up. Did a lot of dumb things, but with those dumb things come great, amazing stories to kind of pass on to other people, and to let other people know about your experiences. That's what it's all for. But yeah, it's overall, I would say I had an amazing childhood, and it's kind of messed up. But there's I have like a saying, kind of, and it's not a saying that anybody should directly live by, but growing up, like I said, we had a group of friends, and we always got in a lot of trouble, and we got the fire department called on us, we got the police called on us a couple times. And yeah, it's, to me, I always kind of just tell people, it's just, you can't say you had a good childhood unless you had the fire department or the cops called on you a couple times. And actually a manager from In-N-Out, which is, my first job, he's the one that told me about that. He was telling me stories and kind of talked about how he would get in trouble all the time. So it kind of made me like realize not to kind of be shy about it or anything. We're kids. Cops, fire department, they're gonna get called eventually, as long as you're having fun. We never put anybody in danger, to say the least. There's a couple stories that I have where people could have gotten hurt, but they didn't. So everything's okay with that. But anyways, yeah. So overall, childhood was great. those were kind of the stepping stones to get me to where I am today. Um, After kind of all of that, we moved around a lot. We got out of that ghetto area and, started moving around to safer areas, I guess you can say. And we never really like settled down, which I kind of noticed. We never really were able to call somewhere home. Like, yeah, we lived in the same town, but we never like called like a house home. We always moved around. At least, I think at one point we moved like 7 times in 1 year. It's a lot of moving, for anybody. But it eventually it got exciting, I guess you can say. We were always kind of, like, when we get to see the house for the first time that we're moving into, we would be like, like, who's gonna get the next room? Or if me and my siblings were gonna have to share, which was very common, and kind of rough growing up, being the oldest. Sometimes you would have to share with your siblings, but it's okay. We made everything work out. And yeah, school life. I'm not gonna say I'm the smartest person in the world. Growing up, I would say I had like not a super difficult school life, but for the most part, I would say I had an all right school life. I was doing really good until about high school. Kind of got into like my rebellious stages of life, and it wasn't that I was bad at school. It's actually, the real reason is just because I didn't want to do the homework. I didn't want to take work home, and it caused me to get behind in classes, and had to go to summer schools, had to go to a what do you call it, a continuation school to help me get those credits back up, which in itself was an interesting experience, and one that I don't regret at all, because I actually made the most connections and some of lifelong friends, and even got me my first job going to that school after everything. So that's really awesome. I don't, regret it anyway. Things happen for a reason. Gotta move on. And yeah, so it's it's my life is not crazy hard. Some of it's my own fault. Some of it's not my own fault. But I just take it one step at a time, every time. And it's kind of just something that my mom has molded into me. It's just taking one step at a time. You can't control everything, so sometimes things just get thrown at you and you just gotta walk it off, or you get taken down with it. But that's kind of not who I am. But anyways, yeah, I went to a continuation school, and it was an interesting school. I remember the first time I went in there, because you have to remember, like, I wasn't a bad kid. Like, I didn't get involved in anything. I didn't drink until I turned 21, which is I would say one of my biggest accomplishments. A lot of people don't believe me when I say that, but it is true. I refused to drink until I turned 21. I kind of wanted to make my 21st special. So yeah, that was something that I kind of held on to and wouldn't do. And yeah, it just went to this school, and I remember, like, when I walked in, my first impression was just everybody looked like they were involved in something, and I was like, man, I am standing out like a sore thumb. Like, it was bad. And first day there, I remember it was a very interesting first day, because the first day there, it was a huge fight broke out between these two girls, and one of them pulled out a knife on the other one, and a teacher got involved and kind of grabbed the knife, and then the student that had pulled the knife out started swinging at the teacher, and it was a lot of craziness for a first day. And I just remember I was like, man, I'm stuck here for a while until I get those credits that I need. So at that moment, I kind of just decided, okay, I need to kind of bust my ass, excuse my language, to get out of here as fast as possible. So that's what I did. I kept to myself. Made some friends. I had some friends that I hadn't talked to in a while that actually ended up being there. So that was kind of cool to see them, I guess. Um, I wish it was under better circumstances, but take what you got. And yeah, it's busted my ass to get through that school, and I eventually did. Actually, was able to make up everything I had because I had um, stayed after. I had done every extra credit project that I could. I did everything that I could in one semester, and which is really awesome. All the counselors were pretty astonished because nobody that they've had done that, and even the principals were kind of like wow, like I you don't belong here, and I was just like, well, I'm here, so let's do this. But when it came down to me leaving, I finally got all my credits, went to talk to the counselor. It was this very nice lady named Nancy. She asked me if I wanted to go back to my original school. And I was just as surprised as she was by my response, which was no, I'd like to stay here. The reasons being, I had built these connections with my teachers that I hadn't built at the other school. Um, at this other school, it was one of the top high schools in our city, so I, everybody kind of knew that you didn't stand out unless you were a straight A student, 4.0, which I'm sure if I tried hard enough, I could have done if I really wanted to. But it's just the teachers never. I never felt like a connection with the teachers. Like the teachers were nice there, but it wasn't like the connections that I made with these teachers at this continuation school. The bad school. And yeah, my English teacher, my economics teacher, my art teacher. I did an ROP construction program class, which made huge connections through that itself. I'll get into that later. But yeah, it was really I couldn't say goodbye to everybody, and I even though I said no, I was very hesitant, I guess, to say no or to stay there even. I didn't want to look bad. Like I said, it was viewed as the bad school, so but I didn't kind of I let that get to me a little bit in the beginning, but overall I didn't really care what people said anymore. A diploma is a diploma. It doesn't matter where you come from or where you get it, as long as you get it. And so yeah, I made connections with the principals, who even to this day every now and then will shoot me a message. And one of the teachers, unfortunately I don't live back home anymore, I moved away, but I would see my teachers outside of school when I would go to the store with my mom, and they always made an attempt to talk to you and to say hi to your family, and just kind of almost seem like they were the kind of people that you would invite to dinner and just be able to talk to. Whereas I've seen teachers from my old school, and I'll wave at them, and they kind of just look at me and they wave back, and then they keep going. They never really made an attempt to get to know their students or me in general. So um, yeah, I don't regret staying at that school at all, and I made connections there with people and teachers and even the principals that I got me to where I am today, basically. One of those connections was I actually did an ROP construction program. It was for the school, and we got to do so many amazing projects through that program. And the whole time you have to keep in mind that this is the bad school, right? This is schools where dropouts go, and where gang affiliates go, and where people with no future go. And through this program, we got to do all these crazy fun projects, anywhere from building school benches for elementary schools. That was awesome. I remember I made 2 or 3 of them with a partner of mine, and we took them to the school. We dropped them off, and we actually like carved our initials on the underneath so that we always go there. And I remember we went there like months after we had put them there, and they're still there to this day, dirty because it was an elementary school, but it's fine. That's what they're for. Made display cases for the school itself that I was at. That was pretty cool. But I would say one of the biggest things that I got to do and say I accomplished was I got to participate in a Habitat for Humanity build, which, if people don't know, they are homes for people, that can't afford homes, that wouldn't have a chance to call somewhere a home because of financial situations or personal reasons. And that was an incredible and humbling opportunity, because I grew up in a situation where we were homeless growing up pretty much until we moved into that very ghetto area. And here I am building a home for someone that was in the same boat that we were. So it was a very awesome situation to participate in. I was there till the entirety of the project, and got to go when the house opened up for the family, and it was a very awesome experience. And through this whole thing, I also jumped into another program. It was called Junior Leadership Development Program. It was a program by a good friend of mine who is now doing amazing in his life right now. I see his, we're friends on Facebook. We connect on Facebook every now and then, and he's doing fantastic, and he's a huge motivation of mine as well. But yeah, he created this program, and now he's way up there in CEO status, I guess. I don't know. But he's doing really well. And through that program, I was actually able to participate in all these other activities. Like I said, ROP construction got me to the Habitat for Humanity build, which was an awesome experience. Junior Leadership Development Program, I got to participate in biggest one was I actually got me my first job, which is In-N-Out. I'm still at In-N-Out. It's an awesome company to work for. They pay very well, obviously. Everybody kind of knows, and everybody knows In-N-Out. I've worked there. This year will be 7 years now, I think, in a row that I've worked there. Put in some time. It's fine though. And it's the environment that you work in. Everybody is great there. It doesn't really get boring. There's always something. It's happening or something you can do. The company itself takes care of their associates very well, and they like to do a lot of activities, which is awesome. And it would be something I would be very sad to say goodbye to, but I wouldn't stop my future for it at the same time. Yeah, 7 years I worked there. I was able to do that. I was able to go on a camping trip. Well, kind of a camping trip. It's called Fast Camp. It's a firefighter and police preparedness class, I guess, or camp, where I got to do all kinds of crazy stuff. Because for most part of my life, I wanted to be a firefighter. Stuff happened, and I didn't get to do that. Kind of got turned away from it. But yeah, it was a real awesome camp. Met great people. Got to do all kinds of stuff, anywhere from using the jaws of life to pry open car doors, doing false fire simulations where I have to drag a body out. Got to climb down, or got to climb all the way up and back down the ladder that they have, which is a lot harder than it seems, especially when you realize how long that ladder is. That was an awesome experience. Uh, it was great. Cop wise, I got to do fake traffic stops, which were really fun to do. I got to do clearing out a house if we have to find an assailant, which is awesome. And yeah, it's really cool. It was a really fun experience and tiring. You have to, there's PT in the morning. It's a lot of running, a lot of exercising, but it was an awesome experience. And if anybody has the opportunity to try it, I would definitely recommend it. It's unbelievable. But yeah, kind of that's kind of like my past. Not a lot, not super crazy stuff going on, but there's some stuff there that basically made me who I am today. And you know, it was amazing. It was all fantastic, and I look back on sometimes, or I'll remember some things that kind of just pop up in my head, and they like make me smile or make me laugh. And if my wife is nearby, I'll tell her what happened, and she always cracks up. She always likes to listen to the stories that I have, which is awesome. Um, Go tell her pretty much everything that like pops up, and every single time it'll get a smile on her face, which is great. You know, she's one of my biggest motivations right now as well. Me and my wife, it hasn't been the easiest year. We've been through a lot. My badass of a wife, she got accepted in the San Jose Police Academy, which is awesome. We had to move down here, which was one of the hardest things I've had to do. I left home. I lived in that town for good 20 plus years of my life, so it was hard to say goodbye to everybody. And yeah, we packed up our stuff. We moved down here. Cool thing about working at In-N-Out is that you get to pretty much work at any In-N-Out. So as long as they have a position, as long as there's an In-N-Out in the city that you're in or that you're working near, or that you're moving to, you can pretty much work there. So that's awesome thing about the company. It's very good job security, I guess. So yeah, we packed up our stuff. We moved down here, and started trying to get our life together. It's been difficult. We're not financially stable enough yet to be able to afford to move out on our own, especially in San Jose area. It can be quite expensive. So we moved into her family's home, and it can be a lot sometimes. It's me and my wife. We are newlyweds. We're actually hitting our year mark in May 2nd of this year, which is awesome. And it can be hard. It's me and her, and then 8 other individuals. She has a very big family, and we're all in the house together at all times, and sometimes it could be a bit overwhelming and stressful, especially for my wife. There's a lot of stuff that she has to do for the academy, and it can be a little hard for her. So we're keeping our heads high. We're looking into the future. Hopefully by the end of the year we get going on our own, which is pretty much the goal, and like something that we're set on, which is awesome. It's something to look forward to. We're already kind of planning decorations, just kind of stuff that we're gonna get into, and it's all really fun and exciting things coming in the future, which is something that I look really forward to, and something that hopefully I can bring you guys along with me and experience that journey with me. So that's something that's really awesome. And currently, like I said, it's a little hard financially wise to live here. So currently I am working 2 jobs. Right now I'm not, because of everything that's going on with the coronavirus. Blessing and a curse, I guess. But prior to the coronavirus, I was working 2 jobs. both in and out, and I got hired at Nike, the Nike factory outlet store in Gilroy, which is awesome. Um, yeah, and it's been hard. It hasn't been the easiest. There's been times where I want to, just call it quits, but I wasn't raised that way, so just get through it. Usually, for the most part, I do work about 7 times a week, sometimes 6, depending if I get that day off. But yeah, most of the time, 6 to 7 days a week, and then on top of that, it's close to about 16 to 18 hours a day, depending on if I have a double shift. So we'll work at one place in the morning and work the other place at the night, which happens. But yeah, it's been a little rough. Not the most exciting stuff. Everything kind of halted. But at the end of the day, one of the things that I've held on to is the gym. I've been working out, I would say, steadily for about 5 years. I started when I was, I want to say 20. I think that's about right. I was very small. I was always a very skinny guy. You know, I was very skinny. And one day I remember, there's actually, it's a famous YouTuber. His name is Matt Keto, he goes by Goku Flex online. I watched one of his videos scrolling through it, and he had posted pictures of a before and after situation where he was also kind of in the same situation, very skinny, and 4 or 5 years later he turned into this crazy inspiration. And that's kind of right there when I decided, I was like, okay, I'm tired of being skinny. So I started working out. By that time, my stepdad had come into the picture. He's an awesome guy, and I remember he bought a bench press, and he put it in the garage at the house that we were living at the time. And I just remember I'd come home from work. I was working at In-N-Out. I've been working there since I was 18. Come home, go upstairs, put on some gym clothes, or at least to me it would be a tank top and some sweats, and do whatever it is that I can do with this one bench press in the garage. And it's kind of when my gym life started. I remember the first time I worked out, I was sore for like 2 weeks, and I was like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. But I kept getting through it, and a couple months went by, and I remember the thing that got me, basically made it set in stone, was